Today we're going to create a tier list for the very best heroes for open field fighting in Call of Dragons. Whether you like Marksman, Infantry, Mages, or, heck, if you're using Cavalry, we're going to rank it all, so stick around in this video for the things you need to know. Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming and today's video is sponsored by the makers of Call of Dragons. And many of you have been asking, Chisgule, what pairs are you using in the open field? Now that Bertrand and Tohar are here! Wait, you mean you're not even leveling them up? And that's kind of where I'm at for now. So in this video, I'm gonna go over which heroes really are the very best in the open field. And before I do that, I just want to review some general principles of what makes an open field hero good, which maybe gives a little bit of color as to a part of the reason why I'm not using Bertrand and Tohar for now. I do expect to use them eventually. And the number one thing that you want in the open field is available on the original mages, Lily and Velen. That's area of effect damage. In most real, meaningful fight situations, you will be doing area of effect damage to many things at once, and more damage is just straight value. Now that said, my God, are Marksmen just really crazy. And they do area of effect damage in a way that I wouldn't have expected. And that's really not area of effect damage, it's counterattack damage, all right? So when they're getting hit, they wreck you. So they have their own way of doing this, but the thing that if you don't have area of effect damage, you also then need to look to, okay, do these heroes have March speed? March speed is just really, really, really good. And there are many heroes that have March speed in many different ways, but at the end of the day, if you can outmaneuver an enemy, then you're just in a better spot. So that covers two of the things, area of effect damage and March speed. But let's not forget that also if you're battling in the open field, one other thing that's really powerful is debuffs. And I suppose I can click back onto Velen again, because things like March speed reductions, or in the case of Kanara, inflicting things like a defense break, things that make it so that everything else hitting the same target, you kind of do more damage. Those effects are very powerful. So those are just some of this is a handful of the core things I'm looking for when I judge an open field hero. Do they have area of effect damage? Do they have March speed? And do they have debuffs that makes it so that everybody smashing the same thing as you is going to do better? But let's jump into Tier Maker now and actually rank the legends, and maybe we'll do a few of the epics, but I think I mostly just want to focus on legendaries here. Okay, here we are in the mythical, magical, and mighty Tier Maker, where now we're going to rank all the heroes. And we've got to start with Goresh and Chisgule, because they are freaking all-stars, and together I would put them at S tier. They're awesome. They're basically doing double what my prior infantry were doing. Like, they live about as long, sort of, and they do like twice as much damage. Goresh and Chisgule are nuts. They're very, very good. I want to be very cautious when I put things into S tier, which is why I'm throwing them into S tier right away, because that sets the bar really high, and it should be high for what is really, really good. Now, while we're here, let's just get a look at the other infantry and rank them. And I would probably put Madeline at A for open field. Remember, this is an open field list. I would probably put Garwood at B, and I would probably put Nika at C or maybe even D, which is tragic, but just where it's at for me right now, man. The reality is that she hits hard, but you don't need that. Your infantry just need to live. There's not enough people bringing infantry that you can bring DPS infantry, at least not in my experience. And that's what makes Goresh and Chisgule so powerful, that they are a strangely tanky combo that also shreds with damage. So really strong. Now that covers your infantry, and I didn't actually mean to just be like, hey, let's go troop by troop. But while we're here, let's go troop by troop. Also at S tier, we'll cover some marksmen. And I feel like the Sindri and Frhagar combo also goes in S tier. That combo shreds, bro. I didn't expect it, because if you get focused, you get racked. So it like actually can't take the heat, but it can dish it out. And when I was bringing out this March, some of my best reports came from there. I don't know, man. It just is absolutely shredding, and it's undeniable. So I'm going to put it up there. And not only is it great in the field, this is, not a behemoth tier list, but like Oh yeah, by the way, also it shreds for behemoths. I got the #1 DPS in the world first capture of the Frost Dragon last season with that combo. It's good, okay? So that brings us to other marksmen. Where do they go? Well, I would probably say Kanara's an A. She's awesome, but not S tier. And I would put Nico at probably B. He's good, very good. Certainly better than Nika, but put him at a B. All right. From here, now we can talk about our mages. The mages. So, look, I feel like Lily and Velen still are doing the thing. Are they S tier or are they A tier? I feel like we can throw them in S. And this is probably like the last heroes that go into S because that's a lot up there. And they're just very strong. Velen's got March speed, I believe, and they both have area of effect damage, and they have debuffs. They have all the things. So you can't get better area of effect damage in the open field, can you? So there it is. Very top tier. Now, Bertrand and Tohar. I mean, okay, so I'd probably put Bertrand at B and Tohar, because you have to stand still, probably the cow gets a D, which is like pretty tragic, but just where I'm at right now for mages, quite frankly. And like, maybe Nika also gets bumped down, but we'll leave her there for now, all right? And the problem with these mages is they have to stand still and they have to be together. And there's not even a good pair for Bertrand for flying. And does Bertrand even have March speed? So yeah, anyways, that's where I would put them for now, which is why I'm not even leveling them. They don't make my list yet. Neither did Nico, for what it's worth. So from here, now we get a look at some cavalry, and then we'll get a look at some all-rounders, all right? So the thing about cavalry is that no matter how good they are, for standard operations, they have, as far as I can tell, no role. In other words, in the fights that define the season, your marksmen or your cavalry literally have no role because you can't get them tanky enough. They just die instantly if they try to charge the front line. And the front line should be massive. These are massive, massive, massive scale fights. So cavalry are good for ambush operations, and ambush operations don't have a role in deciding who wins the season, weirdly enough. Except, I will say, that you can inflict a lot of attrition damage using cavalry smartly hitting backline. But I can't give them an S. I can't give them an S because this is an open field list. And if you're not playing a role in the biggest, baddest fights of the season, then you don't make my list. That's my 2 cents here. But I would say that overall, I would probably put Ferondil and also Theodore at an A. Like, they're really good, but not good enough for me. And I would probably put Bakshi and Emrys at B, which means I probably drop Nika down and put Bertrand down 1 like that. That's probably where we end up here for the breakdown of those legends. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. Because Bakshi and Emmy, bro, hey, yo, you hit some backline stuff, you can do some work. You really can. And I debate if I can keep Theodore up here, but like, he is really a cut above Bakshi and Emmy. He is. He actually does have a lot of tanky stats. And the reason Ferondil gets this role up here is because he flies. And if you are Spring Wardens, which I am, you can do silly, silly things with flying cavalry. Silly, silly, silly. Oh, it's so fun. Which brings us to some of the more universal heroes. Where do we drop them? And look, I may move around some of these. Once we have everybody on the board, we can kind of assess here. But let's start with Hosk. Ya boy, Hosk. He is good. He's really good. I'm gonna say that he's probably best with Marksman. And the combo where he's really seeing a lot of use is either Kanara with Hosk or Hosk with Kanara, right? Like, one of them is the primary, but they're together. And the counterattack is really good. I would probably put him in a B. He's versatile. That is valuable. I don't think it makes him better than the other things you have, though. And I'm also going to put, this might seem weird to you, but I'm going to put Thea down here at C. You may be like, what? I pair her with mages, and I bet you do. I bet you do. And hey, if you have Celestials, maybe you do more. But in my experience, Thea just does okay. She is a hero you can pair with mages, and she's fine because she's going to elevate skill damage, and then you have hopefully an AoE mage doing some skill damage, right? That's the idea. But I would also say, like, you could put Bertrand into a very similar role, and that's why I'd rank them similarly. Like, they're actually doing very similar things in that capacity. The value of Thea is her versatility, but this is not a versatility tier list. It's an open field tier list. And, like, money where my mouth is, I am leveling Thea for her versatility, but I would not put her power level higher than there, I think. I'm even about to awaken her, and, like, I still wouldn't bump her power level up. And the reason is just that, like, it's not doing enough in my estimation, right? Like, you bring any of those S tier commanders, especially, look, they're supposed to be paired together, and, like, they are transformative for your lineup. She is not, my experience so far. I think a part of that has to do just with shielding factor in general. Like, I can shield myself for 1,000 damage, or I could have done, like, 10,000 damage per target with Lily, right? Like, something about shielding is, like, the same is true of healing. Like, the math behind those that drives those, I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying if your trade-off is a shield for, like, 1,000 or damage of 10,000, I'll do the 10,000 damage every time. Which then brings us to our gathering hero, which, like, okay, well, I'm just going to put her at D. And some people are going to rage, and they're going to be like, you just don't know, Chisgule. Minus 50% counterattack damage taken is amazing. That's her 4th skill, by the way. I'm like, maybe it is, man. Maybe it is amazing. And maybe her debuff is amazing. But here's the thing. She's designed to gather. Why are we even having a conversation about this? Because there aren't enough heroes in the game yet. It is inevitable she will be cycled out as soon as we have more heroes in the game that do more things, okay? You're looking for combos that do cool things. Reducing your counterattack damage taken really is irrelevant on infantry. You want to elevate the counterattack damage you deal or the normal attack damage you take. That is when people directly target you, because you're going to have like 20 things targeting you, and then you're just going to be gone. The counterattack damage portion is very irrelevant, and that's like the main argument I've heard for using her. It's like, but you reduce your counterattack by 50%. I'm sure you do. It's not enough, man. I get that her kit is somewhat tanky. I'm like, look, I get it. In like season 1, I was using Nika. All right. Now we're in season T1 and the story has changed. Okay. So that is where I would put our legendaries in Call of Dragons. All right. Now, theoretically, you could start to rank also some epics on here. And like, if I were to rank some epics in this tier list, right? Like probably Waldir goes here. I would put Atheist on the board. Craig would make the list for sure. And like strangely, dude, even with Spring Wardens, he's so cool. Like it's area of effect damage. Remember I said area of effect damage was really good. It's really good. And he flies. That's a cool combo. I don't know that I would. Do the others even make the list? I'm not sure they do. I honestly am not. Like, there needs to be another category below that's, like, also in the game, you know? And, like, that's where some of these other ones I think would go. Gwanwyn is, like, kind of close. Like, it's, like, maybe you could justify it. But then there's, like, a tier below this where all the other ones probably go. And, like, that's where we're at. I think I'll just leave them there for now, you know? So, all in all, I think the game is in an interesting place. I feel like for a number of reasons, the mages did not do what people were expecting them to do in terms of how they're performing. And there's like a dozen reasons covered better by other people than me because I'm not even using them because of what I've been hearing. But like things that I have heard include Bertrand's 4th skill is overriding the Celestial's buff for standing still. So like that buff isn't applying. I've heard that Tohar doesn't give his awakening skill unless you fully channel. So if you're moving in the open field, his awakening's not going to do anything. Now, if we were talking about defending a city or defending a garrison, and it's got a lot of magic units, I actually think Bertrand and Tohar are going to slap. But this is not a garrison list. This is an open field list, all right? This is an open field list. The other thing that I think we can take away from this is that the original mages are really good. Like, if we look at what is a lasting investment in the game, if you're just starting the game, like right now, and you're like, hey, what's a good invest? So it turns out that buying Lily was like a really, 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 really value play. And that Velen is also really good, although he is available from gold keys. So like you could use a lot of your universal tokens to work on him, and I certainly did my share of that. But getting value every time you open a gold key is pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie. I think the rest of this list looks right, honestly. I really do. The only thing I would consider, if anything, to this list, if I were to change it more, would maybe be bumping down cavalry. Because again, for your typical open fielding, I just find that they don't really work very well. And that, look, that they're not designed in this game. This is the beauty of the game, in my opinion. They're not designed to just run them into the enemy and hope for the best, right? Infantry, you can do that. Marksmen follow behind those infantry, right? Mages follow behind those infantry. But if you try to put cavalry in with infantry, you have a huge problem. And the problem is twofold. First of all, they melt. But second of all, you can basically allow an enemy to target cavalry and use area of effect damage to splash down the mages, the infantry, which is really bad. Because you really want the enemy to have to target your infantry to do damage to infantry. But if your enemy can target the cavalry to do damage to your infantry via area of effect damage, that's bad. That's really bad. So, yeah, the only thing I, again, would consider bumping down is calves. They do have a cool role, but they're like a rogue class, an assassin class. And as long as you play them like an assassin rather than a tank, you're going to be okay, I think. All right. And in that regard, if this list were for main fights only, I would bump all the cavalry down 2 tiers. I would do it. I would put them at C and D instead of A and B, right? But I think I really want to reflect the fact that, you can pick up millions of merits, and importantly, just put an astonishing amount of troops in the hospital, ambushing. If you want to see how to do that, I'll have a card in the end screen for Spring Wardens, a video about why I switched and why I still love it. And if you want to see a full breakdown of hey, so Chisgule, what are you going to use in the open field this season? If that is a video you'd like me to make, let me know in the comments. A lot of people have been asking for that, and I think maybe I will make that list of the full combination of everything you need to know about all the marches. Let me know. I can make it. Until next time, my friends, you have fun smashing the kingdom.